good night, wherever, whenever you are watching this video. Apologies for being a few minutes late. It's just, how things go these days. I'm just opening up so I can see the chat. That is on mute. Perfect. So we are here today for month 3 of the 2023 Quilters Playcation Adventure Sewalong. Pretty excited about this month. We're continuing on with our treasure map themed, that's the word I'm looking for, themed project. So I've done both my abstract and my more literal versions today, and so let's show them to you. There's my abstract one. So we have month 1 with the waves, month 2 with the path across the sand or the island, the land. Let's just say the path across the land. And then there is my abstract version of our volcano, because that's what we're working on today, is a volcano. And then here, just to show you, there's month 1 of our waves. I'll probably do more eventually. I kind of anticipate that kind of being a whole border around the quilt. Me and borders, I know, shocking. That around the quilt, we've got our path on the land, and then there is our volcano. It occurred to me that when I made the sample yesterday, I'm going to end up with 2 volcanoes in my quilt, or at least 2 volcano blocks. So we'll see what happens with those. So I'm just making sure that the chat is working. Yes, it is. So that's what we're going to do today. I'm going to start with the abstract one because it's really simple, and then that lends itself to the techniques that we're going to use in the bigger one, because they're pretty much the same with just a few little extra steps in the big one that we do. So the first thing I need to do is press the fabric. I ran out of time to do it. Like always, little life update while I'm doing this. So I have COVID, which sucks. And I was thought I woke up feeling okay. I actually slept last night. But then I was not feeling okay after my shower and everything, and in getting ready for you. That's why I'm a little bit late, because I was just kind of moving slow because I thought I was going to pass out. So I did not get my fabric pressed. What else is going on? My son is home with COVID. Good times. My other daughter, one of my daughters, has recovered. She's fine. Very mild case. Mild cases, truth be told, for all of us. And then my oldest is currently still sleeping. Or at least faking sleeping. I think she's still asleep. She just got back from a trip to Spain yesterday afternoon, and so had been up for, I think she said, like almost 2 days, just because the way the travel schedule worked. So she fell asleep at about 6:30 last night, and is still asleep with one little bit in the middle of the night where she was awake. So we've said that she could sleep as long as she wants today, then she goes to school and we're back on schedule. She's got no choice to that. So here we are. I've got my fabric pressed. Now, that's the life update, because, that's it. I noticed a comment, I think on the last month, where someone was criticizing that I did too much chit chat. And thank you to the defender who came and said, hey, that's just what Cheryl is, because it is what I am. I'm not going to change how these videos are. I want to be approachable. This is as much for me as it is for you, truth be told, that I'm letting you into my life, and I'm okay with that. I do miss our weekly videos. It was a lot of pressure for me, and just something I couldn't do this year. So I'm happy to be here every month. So there's a lot to catch up on when we come once a month, right? It's not the same. So that's where we're at. I'm gonna now flip the camera around so that you can see what we're doing on the other side. Let's do that. So flip the camera around. Oh, it didn't want to flip for me. There we go. Say hello to our ladies. This is on, bear with me for 1 second, because it's on the tripod wrong. I did not see that. We've got to flip. I've got to flip the camera around. There we go. And then we're going to totally blame COVID for my dysfunction today. Okay. That's all I'm going to say. There we go. Now we're good. Whoop. And now the thing is a little bit loose. Hold on 1 second. Apologies. She does not want to cooperate today. So we're gonna, total amateur hour here. That's okay. That's okay. We are changing how this works today. There we go. You know what? You got to adapt. We're playing and it's an adventure and it's never going to be the same. So we adapt as we go, right? There we go. All right. Settled. No more wonkiness or bumpiness. I do apologize for that. All right, here we are. Let me take a sip of hot water. I've already had tea this morning, so I need just hot water. Now, to make our volcano blocks, we are going to do our classic layered curves that we've done. If you participated last year, you will know these. We've kind of done them a little bit in month 1. These ones are just going to be a little more exaggerated. So when we do layered curves, what we do is we layer our fabrics right sides up. I'm using solids, so it really doesn't matter for the first block, but that's what you want to do. You'll see it more when we do the prints, but we're laying our fabrics right sides up. And then I'm going to cut through both pieces of fabric a curve. Now I want this to kind of look like lava flowing. This is why we're choosing a curve, because we want to have that flow in everything. So I've cut my first curve. I'm just going to pull the blue to the side because I want to sew these two together. I'm not going to pin. If you're new here, you know that I don't, you probably don't know that I don't pin very much, but we're going to start like that. And I'm only going to work on that first sort of inch, and then I'm going to adjust as I go. So I'll bring you over to the machine so you can see what I am talking about as I go. So go into the machine, right? I'm only worried about the first bit. Try to, if you can, stop with your needle down. Now here, I'm not going to follow this line. I'm not going to follow this line, but what I need to do is follow the line of where they go. And all I'm doing is guiding them through the machine as I go. Okay. I don't want to pull too hard on either of these because we have so much bias here. If I pull, I'm just going to create more problems. Also, if you're new here, I love to use these little spiders or pegs or leaders, enders, whatever you want to call, so that I can have my thread, my needle stop in the down position on this, and I don't have to hold my threads either at the start or the finish. So there is my first cut, or cut and seam. We want to press this. We're definitely pressing as we go today. Typically we would press, you know, when we've been taught to press a seam, we press it, you know, on the back side first and then go, but that doesn't really work with curves. So we go with this. Curves will tell you which direction they want to be pressed in. From a design point of view, I likely would have pressed towards the orange so that it kind of pops up because the lava is flowing on top, but it's not going to work with these smaller curves. I've found when I was doing the practice piece yesterday. So we're pressing towards the blue because that's what direction it wants to go today. Okay. Now let's make that second cut here. So I have this piece. I could just simply mirror it and have this one kind of line going along there, but I want to, change it up a little bit. I want to have it kind of be more wider at the bottom, narrower at the top. So I am going to move this over so that where I finish at the top is there, but I'm kind of taking note of where the edge of my orange is here so that I can kind of, I'm going to do a totally different curve is what I'm getting at. So you can see I cut that blue piece off and I have a different curve for this. If you have a really wide piece here, it's going to be, you can go wider along the bottom, right? You can just really play with it depending on the size of the piece that you use for the lava. And then again, we're going to go back to sewing it along here. So you'll notice that with these spiders, we don't backstitch our seams at any point. There's really no point because when we square things up, we're going to end up cutting that off. So save yourself that time, that little bit of thread, and don't worry about backstitching. There we go. And there is the second one in that. See, we're just going to press that. Now, if you're new to these improv curves, what you've probably noticed is that we don't have seam allowances when we cut these curves. And on these nice gradual curves like this, it really doesn't make a huge difference. Oh, I hear the monster. She has arisen. Sorry, that's what we call our oldest. That's her nickname, is the monster. Long story there. Yeah, so there with these gradual curves, you don't have the seam allowance. So sometimes it's hard to kind of match up at these motions. Jeez, we'll call that COVID brain fog again. So they're not going to be perfectly even. And that's okay because we're going to straighten this all out later on. So you can see with my initial block, I did this a few more times with some curves. Right? I added kind of at curves at different angles, played around with it. I started with a strip and inserted. You can use these leftover pieces, right? I could do a little curve like that, right? Think about a volcano, has different crags and angles where things flow. It's not always going to be in the same direction there. So, and this is the abstract piece, so it can be in different things. So to continue on, I would probably do, one or two more in this strip, and then maybe I use one to join the strips together eventually. But that's sort of how that's going to go on the abstract piece. We're just going to be inserting there. Make sure you have contrasting. You don't have to have literal colors. Obviously, I've chosen this blue, which is not really a volcano color, but it was something I had enough of. I'm trying to have dark backgrounds on this abstract piece, and it was one that I had enough of. So that's what I chose. And I realized last night, it is the exact same blue that I used in last year's Quilters Playcation Adventure Sewalong. It's the exact same blue, and it was just a remnant that I picked up at the store, I don't know, a couple months ago. So I thought that was kind of fun. So it's nice to have that in there. And then this pop of this really bright orangey with a touch of red in it. So that's the abstract block. I'm going to go ahead and just place that up on the wall for now. And we're going to talk about going there. Lorraine, thank you. You're most welcome. She says, thank you for doing the live today, even though I'm not feeling well. You know what? I get so much out of these. I so enjoy being with all of you here for all of the reasons. And it's going to help me. Plus, truth be told, we're only doing this once a month. How could I bail on you? Right? There may be times later in the year where I have to reschedule things, but I'm home anyways, so I can do this. I'm happy to be here. I'm glad you're here as well. So let's talk about the print one. Now, what I did first, I just want to show you this here. Actually, I'm going to bring that up. When I'm doing kind of trying to figure out a block, it's one thing to think about it in my head quite a bit. It's another to figure out what are the steps that have to be done to get this block. So I always draw it out in a block form. I mean, this is the extent of my drawing, people. I'm not great. But I just wanted to get the idea and try to think through the process. And this was after thinking about it for like a long time in there. So this is sort of where I went. If you can read my chicken scratch, see my instructions here. But we're going to go. It's not going to look like this, but you get the idea. What we want to start with is whatever our volcano fabric. This is for the more literal, I'm putting quotes because, you know, it's a quilt block and it's improv with intent. This is the more literal version. So I've picked this kind of blacky brown, great Heather Givens print, just adds a lot of texture. Plus I had a lot of it. When I looked at my grays and browns, I didn't love a lot of what I had. So this one ended up being just, I really like it, kind of different texture of the rocks and stuff like that. And then for my lava fabric, I've chosen two. This wonderful, really kind of bright print. I forget who it is. And then this sort of tone on tone. It's not a solid, but it's not grunge. It's like somewhere in between. I forget. So those will be my two lava fabrics. I'm going to go with this one first. Same as before, we are going to layer these right sides up to make the cut. So when we're using prints, it's a lot easier to see which is the right sides, right? In there. Now I'm going to do more of an arc this way, just because I can this time. You can play with it. It's lava, it's flowing, it's a molten liquid. And so it's gonna move. You could do waves, you could do all sorts of things. You can have lots of fun with this. You can make your volcano really tall and skinny. You can make it short and wide. You can do, you know, have two of them together. Ooh, oh, that might be what I do. We'll see. You can have two of them together. So we've got this curve. I have a lot of extra here. I'm just going to trim that off because I don't really need it. And I'm going to work with this. I always like to sew my curves with a concave on the bottom. So I'm just going to flip this over, keep it roughly kind of where the height is there, and then go to my machine like before. There we go. Now I saw one person, Michelle, who happens to be in my Calgary Modern Guild too. She was working on her blocks from last month and she totally jumped the gun and did a palm tree, which I won't deny is on the list of things that we're going to do. So go Michelle, yay. Okay, now I'm going to just press this. With these larger pieces, I can press towards the lava or the orange in this case. So that's what I'm going to do. It will work. With the smaller pieces, it really just wanted to go the other way. So we're doing that. Let's bring you back over here. You didn't need to see me press that. It wasn't very exciting. Okay, so I have the first one there. And now I'm going to do the second one again. Now I want to do kind of what I did last time is have that sort of thicker at the bottom. And I'm going to go a lot more narrow at the top. And I'm going to not do, I'm just going to play with the angles or the curve, I guess, right? So I've got it like that. I did that little bit of a wave in there. Same thing, just pull those pieces out so they're out of the way. you know, you may be able to use some of these scraps like on the next one if you want, right? We can play around with that. They're not wasted. That's for sure. Okay, so same thing. I'm going to sew that, press it, and then I'm going to do one more bit of lava in this one. Remember, I'm only worrying about that 1 inch in front of me. And going from there. Perfect. Coming together. Coming together. We're going to press that one again. Keep. There we go. You don't need to see me press it, so it's not terribly exciting. Just see the pressing. Okay. Here we go. We've got one lava flow in there. I'm going to go ahead and add another one in here. It's going to look like it's overlapping here at the bottom, but I'm not going to be cutting right there. So I'm going to do another kind of wavy one there, cut off this extra bit at the top because I don't need it. Take a sip of hot water. And then go ahead and sew these. So it's just a lot of cut, sew, cut, sew. But we take our time at it. I just want to show you. I've got the convex on the bottom and the concave on top. So I just really got to go slow and guide that around just because of the way the wave went on that top part. And then it flips so that I have the concave on the bottom and the convex on the top because it is a wave. So you just go slow. Don't force it. Guide it. Curves, your machine really doesn't mind doing the curves at all. So you don't have to fight it as you go forward. Okay, let's press that. I hope all of you are doing well. Here in Calgary, spring desperately wants to come. It's trying. We still have tons of snow on the ground. But that's okay. It will melt. And sometime in May, it will start to turn green. Because that's how it works here. We don't really get spring like other people get spring. Not at all. Okay. And now we're going to do this one. And I'm going to move it over again. And then this time, I'm just going to do that sort of gradual arc. Right? So we have that there. And we'll sew this last one, and then we'll move on to the next step. Now you can get as complex with your lava flows as you feel like, get really intricate and designing different things and doing all sorts of fun stuff. Or you can be really simple. I'm simple for the sake of time. But, you know, like all of these blocks, they never really do take that much time. I just can only stream for so long, right? So we'll go with that. Okay. So there is the basis of my volcano. Now, what's missing from our volcano? Sometimes in a volcano, the lava just comes out the sides, but generally it comes out the top, right? There is that crater at the top. So I want to kind of mimic that. I'm going to go ahead and take one of my scraps and use that. And I'm going to do, again, another curve there. This one's a bit long. I just, for visual's sake, I don't want it to be that long. And I'm going to go and I'm going to cut a curve. It can be longer than what you have here because we are going to have to shorten this a little bit. And then the lava flows don't always spill out the top. It's just the crater at the top. So I'm just rotating the block so that when I cut, it's just at an easier angle for me because I'm right-handed. If you were left-handed, of course, you would probably rotate it that way. But me being a righty, I'm going to go with this. And I'm just going to cut that gradual curve there so that I can sew my crater part to the top here. Right? We take that piece away and I'll go ahead. Remember, concave on the bottom, convex on the top. Let's head over to the machine and put that in. Now it's a smaller curve, so we just got to be a little more careful. And this will be one where you can really see that seam allowance not being there can really make a difference. So I started on this end, you know, I really had my crater fabric up there, which meant I was left with a really big gap here. That's fine because that's getting cut off. This part's going to get cut off in a couple of steps anyways. So we'll just press that again. There we go. If at any point your block is not laying as flat as you would like, steam is highly recommended. You could use starch. I love flatter. I think it works great. I generally use steam quite a bit, but apparently I don't have any water in the iron at the moment, so it's been a dry iron. But steam plus this wool pressing mat can really make a difference, but so can flatter. Okay, so that's where I am. I have this. Now we basically need to, this doesn't totally look like a volcano yet because it's not the volcano shape, right? Let me show you our original block here. So you can see we're going to add sides to it. But before we add the sides, we actually need to add the top. It's a lot easier to add a little bit above the crater of your background fabric before we cut the sides. It is a little bit of 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, but I just think visually it's better to have these little seams than a seam across here. So we're just going to cut a smaller piece of our background, add it above the crater, and then we're going to add our sides. So let's go over here. I chose another fabric. I had to sort of pick a fabric I had a bit more of. I've got a bit more here. I'm going to cut from this piece here. Just cut off this selvage so it doesn't get in the way. And then I want to add a piece here. Now it doesn't have to go across the whole thing. It really just has to only go there. So I'm just eyeballing it. And I'm going to kind of put it here. So eyeballing it, I only need about this much. So just so I save myself a little bit. Probably keep that fabric for something else. So really this is what I'm wanting to do, is I'm wanting to kind of put it in the middle. Now I can go ahead and do another curve if I want, or I can go straight across. It really is up to you. I'm just going to make my life easier and go straight across. I am going to use a ruler for it though. So again, we're still cutting these right sides up. It's just that I'm cutting them on a straight line as opposed to a curve. So use the ruler. I've got that there with that straight line. It didn't quite cut there, so I'm just gonna, there we go. That's my scrap. And I'm gonna go ahead and cut that or sew that on, just regular straight sewing like that. This time I'm not going to be able to use my spider at the end because I'm not sewing all the way to the end of the fabric, right? I'm stopping here. So that means I can't do my spider all the way to the end. That's fine. So I've got that and I'm going to press it towards the crater, right? Because I want my volcano standing out from its background. Plus my background is light. So I'm gonna go with that. Okay, so it doesn't look like much when we're doing this, right? Is everything working for everybody? I just noticed it froze here. There we go. We are working. Okay, just want to make sure we don't have technical difficulties. So now I have this, which, let's be honest, doesn't look like much, but all we have to do is layer on the sides, right? So I'm going to take my fabric. It's pretty wrinkly, so I'm just going to give it a quick press here. Just because I'd rather make sure it cuts nicely for me. I'll probably use whatever's left of this and maybe have some scraps. Oh, that's good. Okay. So which I'm going to go with, because that's pretty close to the height. So let me just cut off this excess. I'll probably use that for another land block. There. So now what we want to do is just create the side of our volcano here. That's all we have to do. So that's what I'm going to do. We're layering it again, right sides up. All of our cutting is right sides up. Now I can cut a curve, I can cut a wave, I can echo this kind of curve. I could cut a straight line if I wanted to. It's really entirely up to you in all of this. I'm going to kind of do a bit of a curved straight line like that. That's what I've ended up doing. So I'm taking note of where my curve is right here. I'm not going to cut this off right now just because it's kind of a weird angle and I want to maximize that. So I'm going to just flip that over right there and take note of where those seams matched and head over to my machine. Right, now I got to hold my threads because I hadn't done it. And I'm notorious for forgetting to hold my threads. That's one of the reasons I love the spider so much. It just makes that easier and you don't get those nests or knots at the bottom if you forget to hold your threads or your machine becomes unthreaded. So just going to go down. Okay, so there's that one, right? I've got, oops, you can't see that. Got that nice and big. I'm just going to press it, again, pressing towards the volcano. right where it meet the seam, because we're pressing towards the volcano, where the seam of the crater and the volcano and the background and everything, that's going to be a bit bulky. So just spend a little time to make sure that goes the way you want it to go. Okay. And that's what we have so far. Now, depending on what kind of fabric you have left, right? I only have this piece of fabric. Obviously, it's not big enough. So I have a couple of options. I could cut this in half and seam it so I have a longer piece, or I can cut off part of this side and use it, which is what I'm going to do. Just depends on how much background you want around your piece and how much fabric you have. You know, I've got this piece as well, but it's going to be quite skinny at the top. So I'm just going to cut, you know, from here, and I'll use this on the other side because I don't need this to be, you know, as big. And then again, I'm going to layer that on top. Now, I'm just going to have to move you just slightly because you're in the way of my cut. And I'm going to cut that curve like that to there. And then that will be my block. So let me sew that here. And then we'll be done this volcano block. And I have enough of this fabric left that I could easily do another land block from the month before and have it play with the others, which might be a great use of the fabric instead of just kind of sticking it in the scrap bin. Might as well add to things, right? There we go. All right, as always, we're going to wait until I do this final press, and then you'll see the finished block. There. There we go. I hope all of you are doing well and enjoying your weather. Lorraine is, I remember, in southern Alberta. Did you get that big storm? We just ended up getting a skiff of snow the other night, but we didn't get that big storm that I heard you were supposed to get, but I never actually checked the news to see if you got that in southern Alberta. Or not. Okay. So, ta-da! There is our volcano block. How fun is that? Right? A little bit abstract. I do have scraps. Like I said, we never complain about scraps because they can be used at some point, somewhere. We all know that. Now that I have, excuse me, 2 volcano blocks, let's put them side by side here. Can we see them all? Yes, we can. Right? So I can do, so Lorraine's saying they didn't get much snow either down there. So I could put them side by side. I could have them at different spots on our treasure map. I did have the thought, I'm just going to fold the fabric. I could have, or could still, kind of join them and have like a multi, like one giant volcano. I may still do this. You never know. That could be kind of fun as well. In that case, because this one is shorter, I would probably add a piece of fabric here before I did that, and then do sort of one cut along the way. And then I would just have, you know, like a multi-cratered volcano as opposed to 2. I don't know. We'll see what happens down the line. These things evolve as we go. But I do kind of like that look. It's kind of neat in there and just makes it a little more vivid. Or maybe I only use one. We'll see. We'll see. So let me get these up on the design wall. And then we're going to flip the camera around for final comments and go from there. Alrighty. There's our ladies. There's my live stream so I can see the chat. And there I am. Hi. Hello. We go. That is month 3 of the 2023 Quilters Playcation Adventure Sewalong. There's the 2022 version. I'm working on assembling it. It's coming together. The problem is that I am out of the gray. I just have a few scraps, but I have bigger pieces that I need to fill in. So I ordered, and it turns out it's the wrong one, which I'm kind of annoyed at. Although, sorry, I got distracted. I have some placemats over there that need ironing, and it might be the exact color that's distracting. Maybe I'll just take my placemats apart. Oh my God, that was embarrassing. I just took too big of a sip. Good thing it was just water. Yeah, I'm in fine form today. Fine form. We're 100% blaming COVID, right? But yes, I am working on getting this all together. I've already entered it into the Heritage Park Quilt Show that comes at the end of May, so I've got to get it together and get it quilted. So that'll be fun. Oh, hi, Connie. She said she's finally on, but she's looking forward to today. Of course, we're almost finished, but that's okay. You know where it is and you've got it on. Don't blame yourself, because I think it might be me setting things up wrong. Yesterday I did my live and it said that I was public, but then when I went to post it, it said it was private, so I had to edit it and everything. You're saying that you've had COVID 3 times. This is our second, as far as we know. Milder than last year, for sure. Different than last year, but milder. For me, we're just keeping an eye on our son, really making sure that he recovers well from this, because he does have long COVID, and our concern is that it will make it worse. It doesn't always, but it usually does. So we're letting him get a full recovery from this. He does say that he feels the crashes feel worse. The long COVID crashes feel worse than the COVID that he's got right now. So fingers crossed. So I'm going to let you go. Thanks for joining, everybody. We will see you. Oh, wait. Shameless promotion. Got to do it. You know I got to do it. Next week on the Quilters Playcation, on Friday, we're having another play date. Last time we talked all about fabric and using it. This time we're going to talk about 2 things. We're going to talk about the design wall, and we're going to play on the design wall, but it's also going to be, and tell your friends if they're not comfortable with improv that this is the one to come to. We're going to make a pile of blocks so that we can play on the design wall, and we're going to work with familiar blocks, so half square triangles and improv curves, and we're going to have a lot of fun on the design wall, seeing what we can do with them, and really just kind of playing, because that's what it is. It's a play date on that. So that's Friday. You can register for that, and then on the following weekend, I think it's the 23rd, is the churn dash dance party, which will be taking that familiar block churn dash. It's a great traditional block, and we're just going to turn it on its head and explore all the different ways we can have fun with it. It's going to be a blast. I think that one's going to be a lot of fun. Lots of possibilities there. In that. So hopefully we'll see you at one of those events, or both. If not, we will see you next month for month 4 of the Quilters Playcation Adventure Sew-Along, and we'll see just where our treasure map takes us. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Bye, everybody. Have a great week, or a great month, I guess. See you later.